TikTok is pumping out financial advice that sounds smart, but I think it's quietly wrecking people's futures. I'm going to show you some of the worst examples that I found so you don't fall for this crap.
First pieces of financial advice I'd ever been given and ultimately contributed to my overconsumption problem occurred in my 20s when I transitioned into tech. And at that time, tech was bananas. You had a bunch of 20-something-year-olds, multimillionaires whose prefrontal cortexes were not developed. It was legit like Wolf of Wall Street. So bottle service, private jets, the whole nine. And there was somebody at the company that I really looked up to because he's only a couple years older than me. And I wanted to sit down and talk to him about, what are you investing in? Like, what are some of the strategies that you have? Because he lived in a penthouse apartment. He had multiple luxury cars. And I thought, how do we get there? And this person practically gagged at how cute my question was. He said, I don't save anything. I don't have anything saved. I don't invest anything or have retirement because if I wanted something, I just need to make more money. And I said, what do you do when you're 80 years old or whatever? He's like, no, I'm going to make so much money that I don't need a retirement plan. And the other piece of advice he gave me was to dress for the role that you want, not the role you have. But he didn't mean wear nice clothes, which I agree with, dressing for the role you want. He meant I needed a different pair of Louboutins for every single day. So down the rabbit hole I went, and that's what started my overconsumption.
That is wild. If you get an LV for every day of the week, let me know down in the comments so I can quietly make fun of you and also be very, very jealous. I think spending your money only on depreciating assets really doesn't set you up for success, and it really gets you in the wrong mindset, as honestly I think we just saw with her. When it comes to retirement, taking advantage of putting your money away early in life and letting compound interest take effect it's just common sense. Even if you're making a ton of money, you don't need it now. You're not guaranteed to make that much money in the future. And with that mindset, I can already tell you that he's not on the path to success. At least that's what it sounds like. And for those of you with employer-sponsored retirement funds like me or good personal IRAs, you can get some insanely good returns on your money. Insane. I'm going to show you something from my personal retirement account here, which is split into 3 different funds: company stocks, index, and target date funds. And it's got an average return of about 25%, with some individual portions reaching over 40%, which is insane. It's not normal. It's not going to happen every year, but it is absolutely nuts. It was a strong market year. This is my point. Long-term compounding, time is the only thing that you can't buy back when it comes to investing. Hey, if you're rocking with this, tap the like button so this gets where it needs to go. I appreciate it.
So when I was about 24, 25, my husband and I were living in Minnesota at the time and looking to purchase a home. And so we were going through the whole process of looking at homes, getting pre-approval, etc. And this is when we were meeting with a lender, and he was walking us through the steps of what we needed to do. And one of the things he told us that we should do was pull out all of our money from our 401k so we could increase what our down payment could be, and so we could be more competitive. One, for a 401k, there are significant penalties for withdrawing your money before your retirement age. Not only are you paying higher tax, but there's an additional 10% fee or something like that for you to be taking money out. Second, the whole point of starting your 401k as early as you can is so that you can take advantage of compound interest, which will fully maximize as times decades later. So taking that money out would not only cause us to pay a significant penalty, it also completely diminishes the whole point of why someone would start a 401k. If we were in a certain situation where the lender considered that we needed to have more cash in order to be competitive, and that meant to pull money from our 401k, that probably meant we were looking at a price point that was higher than we could afford, which means that we're putting ourselves in a situation where we're hurting ourselves in the long term by taking money away from retirement, but also the short term because we were probably looking at a house that means we couldn't afford yet.
So I've got very strong opinions when it comes to houses. I believe being a homeowner really isn't for everybody. And this is about primary residence, not investment properties. Those are way different. I think America has tried to sell us on the fact that homes is path to financial wealth, and they can be, yes, but not for most people. Why? Because if you buy a home, 30-year mortgage, it adds so much interest to that loan over time. And if you account for insurance and property taxes, you're not going to make that much money in the end. And a lot of people will tell you, well, just pay extra. Most people don't do that. It just is what it is. So homes are obviously great lifestyle decisions, but from the financial return side, it can be iffy. And this is why I choose to rent. I'm going to move soon probably, and it makes the most sense for me at the moment. I let my landlord pay the property taxes and maintenance costs, and I invest in the market, which last year made around 16%, while the real estate made around 1%. Sources here. I'm not telling you not to buy a house, but you should be educated on what to expect when it comes to returns.
Here are the 2 worst financial mistakes I ever made. Sports gambling. Don't do it. Gambling is an addiction just like any drug, just like anything else. But instead of hurting your body or your brain, it's going to kill your bank account. It is a sickness. It will get into your brain and it will destroy your financial life way faster than you realize. I lost $12,000. So it's like alcohol. If you can maintain a very healthy moderate relationship with it, then that's fine. But it's designed to infect your brain. You will not win. This business wouldn't exist if you were going to win. People don't win.
Exactly.
The companies win. The second thing is another form of gambling, the stock market. And I'm not telling people not to invest in the stock market. You should absolutely, if you're able to, put money into the stock market. But don't fool yourself into thinking that you're going to become a day trader. There are people that dedicate their entire lives to studying financials, studying stocks, that are still wrong all the time. Mistake that I made is that all of my money, the entire time, should have been going into long-term index funds. What I did was I took a bunch of money, I put it into certain stocks. Some of them did all right, so I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And then I put a bunch of money into other stocks, and a bunch of them tanked, okay? The only stocks that have performed well consistently over time are long-term index funds. So if you're just going to dump your money in and forget about it, which is what you should do unless you are trying to day trade, dump money into ETFs, forget about it, let it rise over time.
I did one of my early videos on sports gambling. I'll link it here if you're curious. He hit the nail on the head. Gambling is absolutely designed for you to lose. They're obviously in the business to make money off of you because we keep losing on the hope that we might win. And occasionally we do, and that's why they're in business. Well, the house always wins. I don't ever gamble with more money than I'd be willing to throw in the trash can. And there's going to be some gambling gurus in my comments telling me how I'm missing out on easy money. I don't care what you say. Anyone who tries to convince you that you're going to make a living off of gambling is blowing smoke up your rear. It's a huge finesse.